What is up, and welcome into another episode of the Somebody Said Kane Show. It's part of the Somebody Said Sports Network. Every Monday night on the Somebody Said Sports Show, also on YouTube, we're live talking everything college football, NFL. Go over there, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're here, you're a Canes fan, you're a Canes hater, you just a nosy Nancy. You want to see what Canes people talking about. First of all, appreciate you coming in. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. It does nothing to you. It don't harm you in no way. You don't get no kind of spam or nothing like that. Ain't nobody taking your phone number down and they gonna be calling you trying to sell you insurance or nothing crazy like that. All it does is it helps me. That's all it do. So hit that like, man. Hit that subscribe. A lot of folks been hitting that subscribe, man. I really appreciate that. We jumped up to over 160 subs. We only been at this for a couple of months, man. So I really, really appreciate everybody that's been showing love, hitting the sub, hitting the likes, hitting the comments. Please hit them comments, man. As you can see, I always respond. I want to talk Canes ball with y'all. I'm a Canes fan. I ain't nobody special. I ain't no reporter. I ain't no insider, nothing like that, man. I want to talk Canes ball with other Canes fans, man. So if you hit them comments, I'm gonna hit you back. Let's talk ball, man. Let's talk Canes. I'm always with that. Again, appreciate everybody tuning in and showing love to the page. Also showing love to the TikTok at SS Canes over there on TikTok. Dropping different stuff over there as well. Some cut ups of the shows, some clips and different things, highlights and whatnot like that. All right, let's get into it. I came on here last week, which y'all ran that video up, which I appreciate that. That video went over 600 views. By far my most viewed video so far. I did the all 22 film breakdown of Darian Mensah. Kind of talked a little bit about kind of how that all came together. I said last week that I would come back this week and I would do some grades on how I feel like the staff and the team did from a portal standpoint, guys leaving, guys coming, overall grades by position. And then I'm also going to do today a too early starting 22. Spring ball is going to start up next month. It is February the 4th already. Next month in March, spring ball is going to be upon us. I'm going to drop the names that I think will be starters when spring ball starts. Again, y'all can always hit them comments. Let me know what you think. This is not based on inside information by any means. This is simply based on what I think and I expect to happen based on how guys have performed, guys we added via the portal, and things of that nature. At that point, I feel like we can go ahead and get into it. Let's start at the most important position in all of college football. How did Miami do in the portal when it came to quarterback? The way I'm going to do this, the structure is going to be who did we lose? Who do we add? And then the grade is going to also be based on what was the need. So there are some positions where we didn't lose anybody, didn't add anybody. Right? Was that good or bad? Was that a net positive or a net negative? Did we win or did we lose when it came to the portal as far as what it takes and what it gave back to us? Then also, what did we need? There's a position group where we didn't gain anything, but I felt like we needed something, and they didn't add anything at all. So I'm gonna give them a grade based on how I felt they addressed that, whether I thought they did what needed to be done by not taking somebody. So let's jump into at quarterback first. Everybody knows the quarterback position is the most important position in all of sports. Absolutely the most important position in all of football. What did Miami do when it came to the portal at the quarterback position? Departures, Emory Williams. You know what, man? Some people threw some jabs at Emory on his way out, man. I'm a fan of Emory, man. He held it down. He beat Clemson that year. I remember being at that game and hearing that he was going to be the starter, and I almost didn't go inside. He messed around and ended up winning that game through a nice big shot to Kobe Young that allowed us to go down and win that game. He also battled, put his arm on the line against Florida State up there at Choke Campbell Stadium. I appreciate that, man. I have no issues with Emory. Never really complained a whole lot, man. He stayed down, but he wasn't gonna get the opportunity to start here. I think we kind of knew that a while ago. And of course, when you bring in a quarterback when he's now getting later in his college years, you bring in a Darian Mensah. We already kind of know what time it is, man. The writing was on the wall. He has found him a new opportunity at ECU. I hope he balls out, man. I hope he does great. Overall, how am I grading Miami at the quarterback position when it came to the portal? A plus. Like, I don't think there's any argument there. When you look at the portal rankings, Darian Mensah is like the 5th quarterback or something stupid. They got him behind DJ Lagway, which is ridiculous. They got him behind the likes of Sam Levitt. They got him behind Brendan Sorsby. I think that's all goofball activity. Darius Minshew is the best quarterback in the transfer portal this summer. I thought Carson Beck was the best quarterback in the transfer portal last year. He ends up leading us to a college football national title opportunity. So I'm doubling down on the Darius Minshew. I think for the third year in a row, Miami has gotten the best quarterback in the portal, and we have an absolute stud in Darius Minshew. If you want to revisit my video from last week where I did that all 22 film breakdown and I showed the type of special talent Darian's got, please go do that when you finish watching this. Because Darian Minshew is an absolute dog, man, and we really got us one. First round draft pick potential, Darian Minshew. So when it comes to the quarterback position, that is an A plus for me. You can't do much better, man. I think he was the best opportunity out there. We needed a quarterback, absolutely, and you went and got the best one available. Shout out to Mario. Shout out to Shannon Dawson. Shout out to everybody that took part in getting that done. The running back position. No departures, no additions. Well, then Breeze, how you give it an A plus? Because we didn't lose nobody, which is a huge deal. I don't know how they pulled it off. We all know Mark Fletcher is that dude in that room. We all know that that is Mark Fletcher's room. You had Marty Brown come in and steal snaps. He came in and ended the season basically as your number 2 back. Gerard Pringle at one point started a couple of games, one maybe two. So he was earning snaps. Jordan Lau was the starter to start the season. So you have a running back room of 4 guys, 3 of which started at least one game, and one of them who was your running back too, really during your playoff run. And all 4 came back. Didn't expect that. I really don't know exactly how they pulled that off. That is absolutely special. So even though we didn't lose anything and we didn't gain anything, it is A plus by keeping all 4 of those guys. You have 3 starting caliber running backs at this level of football. That's not normal. Jordan Lau has starter potential. Mark Fletcher, we know what he is. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. Gerard Pringle, who teams were tampering with, trying to get him to go into the portal. You found a way to keep him. He is also starter potential. The fact you were able to keep all 4 is a special type of win. A plus at running back. And shout out to the running backs coach, man. Again, shout out to Mario and shout out to all those guys who go into player retention. That is important in this day and age. Everybody talks about what do you gain in the portal, what do you gain in high school. Player retention is probably more important than it's ever been in college football. And we just retained a full running back room. 4 guys who could arguably be starters at a lot of other places. That's a huge win at the running back spot. So not a lot of movement there, not really, names and transitioning and stuff like that, but a huge win just by keeping all of your guys. Wide receivers saw a lot of activity. So when it came to the wide receiver spot, we lost guys like JoJo Trader. We lost Ray Joseph. I couldn't write all the names out, man. It gets to be a lot. So I just did kind of some pluses. 2 other guys that we also lost were Chance Robinson and we lost Nye Carr as well. None of them have been huge contributors. I was a big Ray Joseph fan coming out of high school. I thought he was going to be a really special slot receiver addition. But then when you see Malachi Tony come in and do what he does, it's really, really hard, for another guy to get snaps at that spot. Molly was an absolute monster. We all know what Molly is, man. Arguably a top 10 player in all of college football. He was not giving up no snaps at that slot spot. And Ray Joseph, absolutely a slot receiver. JoJo Trader. A lot of people felt some kind of way about JoJo all season. A lot of folks spent the early part of the season wondering where was JoJo? Why JoJo wasn't getting snaps? People thought JoJo was going to push to be a starter. He wasn't. JoJo had some personal stuff go on, had some off the field things happen that kind of started his season off rocky. I don't know all the details. I'm not going to pretend to know all the details, but that's kind of the consensus. And then he kind of got on the field, but you really saw some inconsistencies. You saw some opportunities. You saw some talent. But then also you saw some stuff like what happened in the SMU game. Ball hits him in both of his hands. He ends up bobbling. It turns into an interception. You saw some of the drops when he had opportunities later in the season. He was just up and down. He was inconsistent, which that's not shocking to see. He's still young. JoJo is only in his 2nd year of college. He was a redshirt freshman. He's got a lot of football ahead of him. Hopefully, a lot of opportunity to mature and to grow. Anyway, JoJo moves on. He's going to NC State. He pairs up with CJ Bailey over there. Ray Joseph also went to ECU along with Emory Williams. So there's going to be some familiarity between Ray Joseph and Emory over there at ECU. The additions in the wide receiver room. Cooper Barkate, 1,000-yard receiver, comes over with Duke, already has chemistry and rhythm with our new trigger man in Daria Mensah. That is going to be absolutely a blast to see. We added Cam Vaughn as well, wide receiver from West Virginia, and we added Vandrevius Jacobs. Very quickly, some of the comparisons I'm hearing are some recent players that you can think of in terms of how are you projecting some of these guys to potentially be. Cam Vaughn, a lot of people are comparing him kind of to like a CJ Daniels. They're saying maybe he's got a little more wiggle. I don't know. It's kind of easy to say that until you really see it play out. I don't know. But if we get a CJ Daniels type of player out of Cam Vaughn, especially if we can get that type of leadership in the wide receiver room, I think that'd be great. Vandrevius Jacobs is considered to be more of a deep ball threat. He's shown some ability to go up and win some 50-50 balls at a pretty good rate. He's got some pretty good speed out there in the open field. So again, it's almost kind of like you flipped your CJ Daniels and Keelan Marion into Cam Vaughn and Vandrevius Jacobs. Vandrevius is probably, I would imagine, or I would say, better than Keelan Marion on the deep ball. Cooper Barkade is just a do-it-all guy. Automatic day one starter. You just added another 1,000-yard receiver along with that monster that they call Malachi Tony to have what is going to be a special wide receiver room. You cannot double Molly anymore. That's kind of the story here. You can't double him because if you double him, what are you doing against that running back room? What are you doing against Cooper Barkade? If you leave him one-on-one, he's going to beat your guys. Flat out, that just is what it is. So now you just created more opportunity for Molly to do what he does. And simply put, that's just be special. So Molly's going to do that. As far as the grade, I went A-. The only reason I didn't give this an A or an A+ is because I really wanted us to shoot high on Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman was the wide receiver that transferred from Auburn. He is considered a top 10 player in the portal. I think he's a top 3 player in the portal. Cam Coleman is a first-round draft pick type of wide receiver. He's tall, 6'3", 6'4", catches everything that comes near him. The boy got glue on his hands. He's an absolute 50-50 ball monster, deep shot, literally can do everything at the wide receiver position. So I wanted us to shoot high and the wide receiver spotted with Cam Coleman. Cooper Barkade is a nice consolation prize, I guess you could say, but he's not Cam Coleman. So if we would have went after a Cam, somebody of that ilk, if you found a way to get Jeremiah Smith into the portal, I know, I get it. I would have gave this an A or an A+. But A- because, one, you did lose some guys who could have been contributors this next season, but you added a 1,000-yard receiver. Most importantly, you kept Malachi Tony, right? Honestly, I could have gave it an A just for that, but I went A-. Offensive line. So some departures on the offensive line. Derek Plass, Tommy Kinsler, and Nino Francavilla, who was considered to be in that center competition. As far as additions, we only added Jamal Merriweather, who comes over from Georgia. Never really a starter at Georgia, not a consistent starter. I think he did get a couple of starts under his belt while up there with the Dogs. Considered to be more of a depth piece. Maybe Mario and Alex can coach him up into being starter quality type of guy. He's the only offensive lineman we took. I gave the offensive line transfer portal grade a B. Again, we shot high with a Jordan Seaton this time, which we didn't do on receiver, but at offensive line, we shot high. We brought in Jordan Seaton, who is by far the number one offensive line prospect in the portal, coming from Colorado. He ends up landing at LSU. LSU spent a small fortune to get him. Rumors are it was a number that Miami just wasn't willing to match, and I understand that. You added one guy, and I think what I hope this indicates that Mario and Alex feel pretty good about what they have in the room. And if you're going to trust Mario on any position group on the roster, it's got to be offensive line. If he wasn't a head coach, he'd be arguably the best offensive line coach in the country himself, Alex Mirabal. is one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. So if you're going to roll the dice on one position group on the roster, offensive line is it, because you know you have two fantastic developers at that position, as well as recruiters and guys who just understand what they have. So they've recruited offensive line very well. They're going to play 5 guys on that offensive line who are all recruited. If I'm remembering correctly. I don't as looking at all the projected starters, which I'm going to get into that. All of them were recruited out of high school. All of them have been in the system and been developed by Mario and Alex. So you didn't take anybody. You took one. You shot high on Jordan Seaton, and you kind of bowed out of that competition. That means that you must trust what you got. And we got to trust Mario. All right. When it comes to Mario, again, if you're going to trust him at any position group, he's going to be offensive line. So I said B. It really would have been nice to get a Jordan Seaton, a solidified, bona fide first round draft pick type of talent. Didn't do that. There are some questions maybe on that group. I'll get into that a little bit more when we do the too early starting 22. But I feel pretty good overall. They got a B from me on the offensive line. Transported great. The only guy I think you lost that I really would have liked to keep would have been Tommy Kinsler. Bruno, as he goes by, felt like could have been a contributor, potentially pushed for a starting job this year. We've seen him get some snaps. Would have been nice to keep him, but we didn't. Tight end. I gave it an F. I gave it an F because of 2 reasons. One, as you can see, we had a departure in Brock Shot. A lot of people felt pretty good about Brock Shot's potential to be a contributor, to be a solid player. He goes to Indiana. He balls out for Indiana. I'm going to feel some kind of way. Flat out, I'm going to feel some kind of way. We didn't add anybody. I gave it an F because I felt like there was a need to add somebody. Now, was it worth spending the money to get one of the top guys, the top tight ends that were in the portal? I don't know. You can argue it. You're really rolling the dice on the guys you got. Elijah Lofton, I think, is a good player. Sometimes I think he's a little overhyped. I think sometimes people give him a little more than he may have earned, and his ceiling could be there. And maybe he reaches that potential this season. I love to see it. He gives H-back vibes to me. This used to be tight end you. You can be an H-back and you can be productive. I haven't seen it yet from him, though. Not to that level. You're kind of rolling the dice on some young body types that you got in the room. There's some excitement about some of the younger dudes, but there's no proven production in there, really. And the way that we use the tight end, the way that Shannon Dawson likes to utilize the tight end, really would be nice to have a legitimate weapon there at that position. We saw this last season, and sometimes this offense can get a little stagnant when you don't have a tight end who can be productive. So, kind of rolling the dice, man. I felt like we should have added one. They didn't add one. I gave him my F. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. On the defensive line, some departures. We had Dante Simpson. We had Malik Bryan, who's considered an edge, and we had a couple of others, Artavius Jones and whatnot. Additions, Damon Wilson, Keanu Davis, Jarquez Carter. I gave this group an A. I didn't think that we needed a lot. And you didn't lose any starter potential guys, not at least for 2026. Dante Simpson potentially could have developed himself like an Ahmad Moten into being starter quality or starter caliber. He wasn't there yet, though. So it's kind of annoying losing him, especially we lost him during the playoff run, too, which was kind of trash because he probably would have got some snaps. It would have been nice to have that third body. Ahmad Moten was battling injuries. David Blay did some goofballery, automatic, offsides guy every time you put him in there. So you lose Dante Simpson during the playoff run where he could have got some snaps, but you added Damon Wilson, who, in my opinion, is top 2 defensive end in the portal this year. You want to make the argument that Prince Will Mamielin, the guy going from Ole Miss to LSU, was number 1. That's fine. Damon Wilson, 9 sacks, 9.5 TFLs with an interception. Playing in the SEC, he is a pass rushing specialist. We're a little young at the DN spot in terms of snaps and production. This guy's played a lot of ball. Former 5-star recruit from Florida, started at Georgia, played at Missouri last year. Now he's a Miami Hurricane. You added Keanu Davis, who is a nice veteran, body type at the defensive tackle position. He's got a little bit of position versatility. Then you add Jarquez Carter, a kid you tried to get out of high school. He went to Ohio State, hits the portal. Now you get him on the second go around. I gave this group an A. Didn't think we needed a lot. You added some depth at the D tackle spot with Davis and Carter, and you added a first round talent in Damon Wilson. That's an A to me. You didn't lose any of the guys who really were going to be contributors are pushing for starter spots. You didn't lose Lightfoot. You didn't lose Blunt. You didn't lose Hayden Lowe. I think that stuff is important. Glad to have those guys back. I think we got an A when it came to defensive line. Linebacker, I gave it a D. I gave it a D because we didn't add nobody. And you lost Raul Popo Aguirre, who played a lot of snaps for us, was absolutely going to be rotational again. I understand why he decides to leave because you're probably not going to start again. You're sitting behind Motore, who got another year of eligibility. You got to start him as a veteran. He played very well for us. Popo was kind of just stuck behind Mo. You know, if Mo leaves, Popo probably stays because he's probably the starter at middle linebacker unless we add somebody else. He leaves, he goes to NC State, man. I wish Popo the best. I think he's going to be good. That is what it is. Bobby Washington, special athlete, never really could figure it out in terms of understanding the position and being able to play at a high level consistently. But you didn't add anybody. So we're going to start Motore, which I think is fine. Probably going to start one of the young guys. I have a thought on who it will be. I'll share that when we get to the starting 22. I gave that a D. It really would have been a nice to add another legitimate, proven producer at the linebacker spot. So you better really like what you got. I felt like there were a couple of guys we could have got. There were two linebackers out of Cal who were really, really good. Luke Farrelly, as well as Kay Uluave, I think is how you say his name. There were a number of backers in the portal. Seemed like we kicked the tires on a couple, man. We didn't pull in the end. Giving it a D. I would have loved to have really gotten a day one starter at that outside linebacker spot to put next to Motore. They didn't do it. DB portal grade, I went A plus. Departures were Jadis Richards, Markeith Williams, plus a couple of others. Additions, Omar Thornton and Conrad Hussey. I went A plus, first of all, because you kept all four of your starting corners. 4 starter caliber corners. Miami had a problem at cornerback a couple of years ago. Cornerback is arguably one of Miami's best position groups today. That is a fantastic job by Mario, a fantastic job by the defensive room staff, especially the DB coaches, Zach Etheridge, as well as the D coordinator. That area, that position group is a strength now. We are 4 deep at least at corner, not even including the young kid like Jabari Antoine, who saw some snaps in the playoff because of injuries. You got to be deep there. We are deep there. And you kept all 4 of them. I think that's huge. That's OJ Frederic. That's Xavier Lucas. That is Damari Brown. And that is, and I know people were giving him a lot of flack. I'm blanking on his name, number 24. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Ethan O'Connor. You kept all 4 of them. They're all starter caliber corners. So it's huge keeping them. You add Omar Thornton to the group, starting safety from Boston College. You had a lot of tackles, bit of a thumper. He's played a lot of ball, very experienced, immediate day one starter. Probably fills your Jacoby Thomas role. Huge get. Then you added a little bit of depth, which is nice. You throw in a Conrad Hussey, who is also from Miami himself, just like Omar Thornton is. Goes to Florida State, ends up at Oregon State, which was super weird. Makes his way back to Florida. He's a nice depth piece. Won't be a starter, but he's played a lot of ball. He's got a lot of experience. So I gave A plus on the DB portal grade. Now that we've talked about all the additions, we've talked about all the guys. Oh, why did I still have that picture up? Talked about all the guys that came and went from the portal standpoint. What does it all shake out to in terms of starters? It looks like this, in my opinion. Again, at the top of the list, the most important position in all of college football, arguably the most important position in all of sports. The quarterback position is going to be Darian Mensah. Again, that was an A plus for me in terms of how we end up at quarterback. Running back, I got Mark Fletcher still as a starter. Last year, Jordan Lyles started week 1 as a starting running back. What we saw Mark Fletcher turn into late in that season, that is a starter to me. He goes for over 1,000 yards. He was an absolute bell cow of a back where you don't see that very often these days. Mark is the emotional leader. Words from Mario Cristobal himself, veteran on the offense. He's a starter, in my opinion. Wide receiver, Malachi Tony, Cooper Barkade, Cam Vaughn. The Cam Vaughn spot is questionable. I personally would love to see Josh Moore win that job because I think he's got a lot of ability, a lot of talent. He's tall, he's 6'4", he's got long range speed, very, very good hands. He is now in his going into his third year in the system on the roster. I would love to see Josh Moore win that job, but as of right now, I think Cam Vaughn wins that spot opposite Cooper Barkade, obviously Malachi Tony in the slot. Spelled his name wrong. I'm tripping. Tight end, Elijah Lofton. Talk briefly about him. Again, he's got to step up, man. He dealt with some injuries this last year. Would love to see him be more productive. Would love to see him stay healthy. Again, this offense, when it has a tight end that is a threat, is so much more dynamic. That offense can do so much more when there's a tight end in there who can block well and catch well. We saw what Elijah Arroyo did. Would love to see Elijah Lofton stay healthy and then take that next step. Offensive line. This is not in order, but these are the 5 guys that I anticipate, or the guys that I'm hearing the most about, could be the starters when spring ball starts. I don't know where they're all going to shake in terms of position. We can talk about that later. But just the 5 names: Matt McCoy, Samson Okunlola, Ryan Rodriguez, Max Buchanan, Jackson Cantwell. Jackson Cantwell is the star-studded Mr. Gatorade football player of the nation in high school, tackle prospect who probably is your starting right tackle. Max Buchanan is probably pushing for guard reps. Ryan Rodriguez, who is going to be a 6-year senior, likely the starting center. When it comes to McCoy and Okunlola, there's a lot of conversation about which one kicks out the tackle, which one stays at guard. McCoy was the starting left guard almost basically the entire season. Okunlola mixed in there a lot. He played in a couple different spots. I imagine the 2 of them are on that left side. One of them kicks out the tackle. One of them stays at guard. And you really, really like that side of your line. Experience, right? Except for Cantwell, who will be a true freshman. Picture Francis Maui Noah, freshman year. Really, really good, not great. Will continue to elevate. Not worried about him at all from a strength standpoint. He is the child of 2 Olympians. The kid is freakishly strong. As you can see, he's listed at 6'8", 315. Probably more like 6'7", maybe 6'7 and a half. And I imagine he'll get up to about 325, maybe 330 for playing weight by the time the season kicks off. Absolute stud, though. You're expecting him to be an immediate day 1 contributor. That is how I anticipate the offense of starting 11 to shake out. Let's flip over to the defensive side. And again, this team is going to be led up front. The defensive line is going to be one of the best in college football. We are losing Ruben Bain. You are losing Akeem Mesidor. This defensive line is going to be one of the best in college football. Damon Wilson, coming in from Missouri, 9.5 sack guy last season in the SEC. Pass rush specialist. A lot of people project him to be a top 10 pick. He is going to be a problem on the edge. Ahmad Moten might be one of the best stories that Mario Cristobal has in his coaching career in terms of development. Ahmad Moten was a former 3-star prospect, stayed in Miami, stayed dedicated to the process, dedicated to the system, and as a D tackle, has the opportunity to play himself into a 2nd-round pick. Maybe if he really goes off, if he stays healthy, maybe a 1st-round pick. Ahmad Moten is one of the best D tackles returning to college football. He is paired next to Justin Scott, former 5-star recruit, who also took a big leap this past season, turned himself into an every down starter. Those 2, that tandem might be the best in college football. They're going to be absolutely nasty. The other end spot is a bit of a question mark. Personally, I like to see Marquise Lightfoot there. There's some conversation. It could be Hayden Lowe, who was hurt all last season as a true freshman. Some people want to see Armando Blunt at that spot. You can't go wrong there. They're all 5-star recruits. But I think Marquise Lightfoot has done a really good job with his development. He needs to, if he can add a little bit more mass to his frame, he can be an every down D, and I think he's going to be a problem. Linebacker, I mentioned Torre. I think Kamal Bonner is going to be the starter next to Mo Torre when spring starts. You may remember we took him last portal cycle. He came from NC State, originally from Florida as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that spot plays out. I'm not super confident in that role, but right now I think it'll be Kamal Bonner. At DB, love the fact that we're returning 4 guys who basically are starters or were starter quality. OJ Frederick and Damari Brown on your ends over there. Those are the 2 I imagine will be the starting corners. If Xavier Lucas wins a spot, you can trust that he really earned it. He deserved it because there's a lot of competition at that cornerback spot. You added Omar Thornton, as I mentioned, from Boston College. Zachariah Poyser comes back, and that young man, Bryce Fitzgerald, with the little thing he be doing, the little celebration he be doing. Man, that boy is a dog. Freshman All-American, will turn into an every down starter. I didn't go by position because I'm not really sure. Do you start Omar Thornton at safety or do you drop him into the nickel, leaving Bryce Fitzgerald on that back end? Do you drop Bryce down into the nickel? We saw him play that when Keontae Scott was hurt. He did very well. He's elite at a true safety spot. Excuse me. He was also pretty good at the nickel spot. If I had to guess, Bryce Fitzgerald comes down into the nickel, and you leave Omar Thornton and Zachariah Poyser on the back end to play your true safety roles. That's the roster. Those are my portal grades. Those are the guys that I anticipate will be starters across the 22 when spring comes around. Again, that's going to happen in March. Super excited about it. I think next week I'm going to come back and do a full season recap. I think enough time has passed. The sting of that natty loss is kind of worn off a little bit. I'm excited about next year, but you know what? To fill a little bit of time here in the off season, I think we can do a recap. So I personally go back almost every off season and rewatch almost all the games from the previous season. This time, of course, we got some additional games to watch with the playoff run we went on to. I'll probably go back and rewatch all the games from last year, but I'd like to do a recap of the season, just revisiting it from the perspective of what did we expect going into it, kind of the emotional roller coaster that we went through with starting out really hot, beating Notre Dame and all the teams we played from a local standpoint. You had the fall off, the frustration with the losses against SMU and Louisville, and then you get hot again. Are we gonna make the playoff? Are we not? Then you get in. Oh man, we got to go to Texas A&M. Then you got to play Ole Miss and Ohio State. I kind of want to just do a recap in terms of how I felt that season went, what the experience was like, and then some of the things I think we can take from that season to build on for next year. So again, I appreciate everybody that tunes in, man. I appreciate everybody that shows love. The people who've been hitting the like, hitting the subscribe, hitting the comments. This is all just me. I go by Breeze. There's no technical director. There are no ads. I don't have no sponsors. I'm just doing this simply for the love of the Canes, man. And I appreciate everybody who's jumping in and doing and going on this ride with me because y'all also love the Canes. I'm gonna keep doing my best to provide some dope content. As always, man, y'all know what it is. It's straight Go Canes over here, and I'm gonna holler at y'all next week.